And with Singapore and a growing list of other countries on both sides of the Pacific, we are making progress toward finalizing a far-reaching new trade agreement called the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The so-called TPP will lower barriers, raise standards, and drive long-term growth across the region. It will cover 40% of the world's total trade and establish strong protections for workers and the environment. Better jobs with higher wages and safer working conditions, including for women, migrant workers, and others, too often in the past excluded from the formal economy, will help build Asia's middle class and rebalance the global economy. Canada and Mexico have already joined the original TPP partners. We continue to consult with Japan, and we are offering to assist with capacity building so that every country in ASEAN can eventually join. We welcome the interest of any nation willing to meet 21st century standards as embodied in the TPP, including China. The United States is also moving economics to the center of our agenda elsewhere in the world. For example, we want to improve our economic partnership with our allies in Europe. That is every bit as compelling to us as our security partnership through the NATO alliance. So to that end, we are exploring negotiations with the European Union for a comprehensive economic agreement that would increase trade and spur growth on both sides of the Atlantic. Africa. Africa is currently home to 7 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies. I deliberately said that slowly because so many people look surprised when I say it. And so we are changing the way we do business with Africa, certainly regarding our development agenda, but also trying to do more to harness market forces and private sector solutions for these growing African economies. In Latin America, which remains the destination for 40% of all U.S. exports, we have ratified free trade agreements with Colombia and Panama, and we've begun discussions with a new group called the Alliance of the Pacific, formed by Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Chile to expand their competitiveness in the global marketplace. Now, our next step will be to transform these regional efforts, the TPP, the EU agreement, our bilateral trade deals, into a truly global vision. In the same way that the General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs offered a global blueprint following World War II, we need new arrangements to take on the challenges that inhibit trade today, from non-tariff barriers to preferential treatments for state-owned enterprises. As we do more to define our foreign policy priorities in economic terms, we also need to update the tools we use. So our second main area of action is finding ways to tap economic solutions for strategic challenges. Just look at what's happening now in Burma. The costs of economic sanctions and the benefits of rejoining the global economy helped spur the government to begin opening up. And we're very grateful to the wise counsel we received from Singapore along the way. The United States is responding not just with growing diplomatic engagement, but also with new economic ties that we believe will help encourage further political and market reforms and thereby improve stability over time. This July, more than 70 executives from 38 leading U.S. companies visited as part of the U.S. ASEAN Business Council delegation. And I understand that the American Chamber of Commerce here in Singapore led a similar trip in August. The United States is also supporting World Bank programs that will provide more than $80 million for infrastructure projects in the country's townships and financial support for small businesses. Burma is part of a region where progress has been slowed by insecurity and mistrust, but it doesn't have to be that way. As Burma opens up and establishes new ties to its neighbors, it could become a commercial hub linking markets in India and Bangladesh with Southeast Asia. An Indo-Pacific economic corridor powered by new energy and transportation infrastructure and fewer trade barriers could create jobs and help lift millions out of poverty. It could also promote stability and derive cooperation on shared challenges like narcotics and human trafficking, refugees, and natural disasters. Now, this all might sound ambitious, and I confess it is. But we cannot shy away from big goals. The post-World War II generation that built the modern global order and established institutions and agreements that fostered unprecedented security and prosperity are really the examples we should be following. In those footsteps, thinking bigger, working harder to create the arrangements that will give us another 100 years of security and prosperity.